Texas football holds steady at number 7 after rolling past San Jose State, with transfer tight end Jack and Ruiz making his presence felt. And over at Moody Center, Texas Volleyball packed the house in a high-powered showdown against Stanford. And NFL season is finally here, with everything from quarterback shakeups to shocking debuts. All that and more on College Press Box. Good evening, and welcome to the first episode of College Press Box for the 2025-2026 school year. I'm Giorgy Ruiz, hosting with Nolan tonight. But before we get started, I want to remind you that College Press Box is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. This past Saturday, Texas hosted the San Jose State Spartans in their home opener, looking to bounce back after a Week 1 loss to Ohio State. And here's what Raymond, Gorvie, and Nolan had to say after the Longhorns' 38-7 win.
Coming off of last week's 14-7 loss versus Ohio State in a rematch of last year's semifinal playoff game, Texas is looking to use this week's home opener against San Jose State as an opportunity to get the offense back on track in front of Longhorn Nation here this Saturday afternoon in DKR.
Longhorn Nation was out early this Saturday as the Longhorns were looking for a bounce-back game after last week's highly anticipated Week 1 Top 5 matchup versus Ohio State in Columbus. Arch Manning and co. were looking to find a rhythm after struggling in last week's 14-7 loss in front of a sold-out crowd in DKR for the first time this season. Texas opened up the scoring after Manning found wide receiver Parker Livingston for first of his 2 receiving touchdowns on the day, putting him at 3 total on the season, with the first being an 80-yard touchdown catch to get the Longhorns on the board first. As for the Texas defense, they picked up right where they left off in Columbus, only allowing 273 total yards and sacking San Jose's Walker Eggett twice and picking them off in the second quarter. The Longhorns forced an overall 4 turnovers as the Longhorns offense capitalized on the Spartans' mistakes throughout the game. Manning would go on to finish the game with 295 passing yards, completing 19 of his 30 passing attempts, while throwing 4 passing TDs and rushing for 1 on the ground to guide the Longhorns to a 38-7 home win in their opener. Next up for Texas is a battle between 2 top 2023 QB prospects as Texas hosts UT El Paso and former 5-star quarterback Malachi Nelson next week in DKR as they continue to prepare for conference play. From TSTV Sports in Austin, Texas, I'm Raymond Gorvie.
After a season-opening loss to the Ohio State Buckeyes, this Longhorns team had a ton of questions flowing over them, specifically over the head of highly touted quarterback Arch Manning. Saturday's contest at DKR against the San Jose State Spartans provided an opportunity for Arch and the Texas offense to get the train churning in the right direction. But after a sloppy contest, the jury is still out on whether this team can be a natty contender.
Texas fans are ready to see their Longhorns take the field at DKR for the first time this season. After a slow start, all it took was one play, an 83-yard touchdown catch and run from Parker Livingston, or should I say, White Chocolate. Livingston has emerged as a surprise breakout star thus far, and with 3 touchdowns and a team-leading receiving yards, it's fair to say he's one of Arch Manning's favorite targets.
Yeah, do people not believe him? I don't know. I don't pay attention to that, but he's a damn good player. He's gonna roll for a white guy too.
Livingston's electric play opened the floodgates for Texas as the Horns forced 4 turnovers the rest of the first half, giving Arch and company great field position to do their thing. Manning finished the half with 180 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, like this one to tight end Jack Andrews. But after that, it was more of the same for the Longhorns. In their final 8 drives of the game, they scored only 10 points, punted 4 times, and turned the ball over twice, raising more questions over the consistency of their offense. However, it was all smiles for Texas players on the field after a 38-7 win, but Coach Sark knows that there's still a lot of work to be done.
It's expectable. It's week 2. But I just want to make sure that, hey, we appreciate the win and we value the win, but we don't think that we're a finished product yet. And that was a message in the locker room. We're not a finished product. We've got to get better and we got to improve.
I think me and Coach Sark can agree on one thing. This team can and has to be better. Miscues, turnovers, penalties continued to plague the Longhorns today. And while they may not matter as much right now, come SEC play, these miscues are what decides games. The good news, Texas has 2 easier games against Sam Houston State and UTEP at home to iron things out before they travel to the Swamp to open SEC play. From Dale K. Royal Memorial Stadium, I'm Nolan Clay, reporting for TSTV Sports.
And what a game it was for the Texas Longhorns, their first win of the season. But for more, let's go to the first time to Nolan to help break down more from the Texas win. Nolan?
Thanks, Giorgy. I'm here with Zoe Frigillana today to talk more about Texas football. Welcome, Zoe. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be back on campus and here with TSTV.
Well, that's awesome. Let's get started. So how did the defense respond and regain momentum after being defeated by Ohio State in Week 1?
So yeah, the defense bounced back from a shaky season opener but came out aggressively attacking the ball. Texas forced 4 turnovers in the first half, complementing each with a touchdown to follow up, turning defense into instant offense. Jalen Guillebeau kicked things off with an interception that helped set up Texas's second touchdown of the game. Then early into the second quarter, Ty Anthony Smith forced and recovered a fumble that the Longhorns took advantage of, converting the play into yet another touchdown. SJSU clearly was not ready for the pressure from Texas's defensive front. Just minutes later, Anthony Hill Jr. forced another fumble, which was recovered by Trey Moore, setting up yet another touchdown. These turnovers resulted in 21 quick points, completely flipping the momentum in Texas's favor. SJSU quarterback Walker Eggett struggled to find rhythm as Texas applied pressure with a consistent 4-man rush. The Longhorns' defensive line collapsed the pocket, making it difficult for Eggett to find open receivers or get the ball downfield. As a result, he was held to just 188 passing yards. Looking ahead, I'm especially excited to see the continued impact of Anthony Hill Jr. He finished second in the team with 6 tackles, right behind veteran Michael Taff, who led the team with 8. Hill is already one of the best defenders on the roster, and if he can stay healthy and maintain his consistency throughout the 2025 season, he has All-American potential and can raise his NFL draft stock significantly. Another player to keep an eye on is Colin Simmons. The former Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year has had a quiet start to the season, but after appearing in all 16 games last year, expectations are sky high for him. I fully expect him to become a crucial component of the defense as the season progresses, but overall the Texas defense returned this week with renewed energy and focus, aggressively attacking the Spartan offense and turning those stops into big plays that created the scoring gap. If they can keep this momentum going, Texas will be a tough team to beat on both sides of the ball.
I agree with everything you said right there. So, next question, what clicked for the Texas offense that allowed them to dominate the scoreboard this weekend?
So yeah, like I said, a slow start to Week 1. Texas gained some momentum this past weekend against San Jose State. A sluggish opening quickly turned when Arch Manning found his rhythm, launching a perfect deep ball to wide open Parker Livingston. The redshirt freshman turned on the Jets and took it to the house for an 83-yard touchdown. To close out the first quarter, Manning and Livingston connected again, this time for a 3-yard touchdown, giving Texas that 14-0 lead. Livingston was the only Longhorn to score offensively against the Buckeyes, and he's now opening the season by proving himself as just a major impact on offense. After not recording any stats last year and putting in work over the spring and summer, it looks like Parker's going to be a really crucial piece to the Texas passing game overall. Manning and Livingston are also roommates, and fostering that connection both on and off the field is translating into some strong timing and trust that is going to create just a recipe for success. Early in the second quarter, Manning threw another touchdown, this time to Jack Indries. He's actually a junior tight end transfer from Cal. Manning would go on to throw 4 touchdown passes, going 4 for 4, including a second touchdown with Indries, this time for 16 yards. Going into the game versus the Spartans, Indries' career high for TDs in a season was 2, and in just this one game, he already has that match. So his previous years of experience are going to be great contribution of leadership for the offense ahead. And to cap off the points, Manning showed his physicality and athleticism for a 20-yard rushing touchdown and electrified the stadium at DKR. But once he found his flow state, Manning finished with a total of 295 passing yards and solidified himself as a real offensive force, living up to all the hype and media surrounding the Manning name.
Absolutely. It was definitely a better offensive week for Texas last week against San Jose State, but I'm still not totally convinced that their offense is truly legit yet. Speaking of not being convinced, it's still early in the season, But what are some things that Texas can improve on heading into the next games?
Yeah. So while the Longhorns showed a lot of improvement since week 1, there's still and always will be room for growth. The game may have ended in a blowout, but the execution still needs to become cleaner and more consistent. Texas committed 12 penalties, costing the team 115 yards. These included holding, offsides, roughing the passer, and other just avoidable mistakes. The offensive line was a major contributor to these penalties, playing inconsistently throughout the game and struggling to protect Manning or give him a clean pocket to settle into. As for Manning himself, he turned things around for the offense, but he can still polish up his play. He threw 1 interception after scrambling when a defender slipped past the O-line. However, as the offensive line tightens up and Manning finds a consistent rhythm, turnovers like that should not even become an issue. But Manning completed 63% with this game, which is solid, but if he can continue improving his accuracy and raise his completion percentage, Texas will have endless opportunity to just drive up and down the field and put up big scores. The run game, on the other hand, took a step back compared to week 1. Running back C.J. Baxter finished with 64 rushing yards, which is respectable, but Texas needs to be more efficient in terms of yards per carry. Another key area needing improvement is third down conversions. Texas went 2 for 12 on third downs against San Jose State. With effective play calling on second downs, Texas can avoid these third down casualties and keep the ball rolling. This team clearly made a lot of progress this week, though, but there's still crucial areas to clean up on. And with tough SEC opponents coming up, Texas will need to sharpen every aspect of their game to avoid giving up free yards and first downs.
That's some great analysis, Zoe. Thanks for joining us again. Let's send it back to Giorgy at the desk.
Well, solid work, Zoe. And when College Press Box returns, we'll take a deep dive into Texas Volleyball's matchup this past Sunday. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to College Press Box. On Sunday, Texas Volleyball defeated Stanford 3-2 in a thriller in their first ever match at the Moody Center. For more analysis, let's go to Giorgy with a special guest.
Thanks, Nolan. I'm here with Ariel Doss to talk more about this special Texas team. Welcome to the show, Ariel.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course, of course. And first off, I want to just bring attention to the attendance of yesterday's matchup. I'm pretty sure it was about 10,899 fans in the building. And if you've ever been to Gregory, you know this was a big step up. But how do you think that atmosphere really played into that fifth set?
Going from 4,000 fans to nearly 11,000 was clearly a noticeable difference throughout the entire game, but set 5 was really where the energy and the noise really started to increase, and the team was able to feed off of that, which really changed the course of the game. Ella Swindle and Tori Stafford said after the game that even when they were down, it was such a fun environment to play in, which was definitely fuel for their fifth set turnaround.
Well, most definitely. I know I lost my voice a little bit there, but Texas seemed to have complete control over the Stanford over the first 2 sets, but then Stanford was able to go on this numerous scoring drive and just to win the third and fourth set. Well, what went wrong with Texas here?
Stanford really got into a great rhythm, which you could see start to shake Texas a little bit. They have a great outside hitter in Ipar Kurt, who had a great second set despite the loss, and her consistency and Stanford's consistency in general carried over to the third and the fourth set, which they carried on that consistency, but were inevitably shut down in the fifth set.
No, most definitely. She was an amazing spiker in that game and definitely brought a lot of pressure into that Texas defense. But even though Texas was able to take that set 5, the final set really wasn't in their favor the whole time. Besides the energy for the stadium, what do you think shifts on the court that allowed them to overcome and take the win?
I think a player that really stood out the whole game, but was definitely a key component to that fifth set, was Tori Stafford. She led the team yesterday in kills with 18, and when Stanford kept reaching match point, a kill from Tori Stafford was what kept allowing Texas to stay in the game.
And we're definitely going to see a lot of that. Texas Volleyball is now ranked number 2 in the polls, and that'll do it for here. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to take it back to Nolan.
Thank you, Giorgy and Ariel. When College Press Box returns, we'll talk about everything from week 1 of the NFL. You don't want to miss it.
And welcome back to College Press Box. NFL season is officially underway, and we have a special guest to break down all the action. So let's send it over to Nolan for more.
Thanks again, Giorgy. I'm here with my man, Ayan Masud, to recap week 1 in the NFL. How's it going, Ayan?
I'm doing great. Campus is still buzzing with that back-to-school feeling, and I'm happy to be here back in the HSM with the crew, ready to take on another year with TSTV Sports.
Absolutely, so let's get it started. It felt like the longest offseason yet. But the wait came to a close on Thursday night when the reigning Super Bowl champs took on the Dallas Cowboys. Ayan, what did you think of the first NFL game of the season?
A lot of people wrote the Cowboys off before the season even started. I mean, Jalen Carter didn't even care to respect the Cowboys enough and was ejected before the first play for spitting on Dak Prescott. Dallas didn't bat an eye and played a competitive game against the champs in their own house. Speaking of Dak, he was injured for a large majority of last season, but looked like he was gaining his footing in his return to the field. We saw shades of 2023 Dak as his connection to CeeDee Lamb was evident. Lamb brought in 7 receptions, going for over 100 yards in Week 1. 1/3 of the target share went to Lamb, but Lamb dropped some passes that played a large factor in the Cowboys' loss. Another large factor in the Cowboys' loss was the turnover in the red zone by Miles Sanders. A fumble like that cannot happen against a team like the Eagles. The fumble itself turned the script for the Eagles, and they went into the locker room during the weather delay with momentum. While the Cowboys' run defense was able to shut down Saquon, they really could have used a pass rusher like Micah Parsons. Jalen Hurts was able to have a clean pocket while completing 19 of 23 passes and scrambling for 2 rushing touchdowns. The missing piece of an athletic pass rusher who can drop back into coverage and also play the QB scramble hurt the Cowboys in more ways than one. Even with Micah gone, the Cowboys defense was able to contain the Eagles offense, apart from one big play to Jahan Dotson. The addition of Matt Eberflus as defensive coordinator seems like it will play a big role in a season that many already considered lost.
Absolutely. The Cowboys definitely surprised me against the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought they were going to get blown out. They didn't. They competed. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out the rest of the season. Next, I want to talk about a team with 2 new quarterbacks who ended up dueling to the last second. 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers made his Steelers debut, as well as 26-year-old Justin Fields having a good game for the Jets. These 2 teams essentially swapped QBs and seemingly what? Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm gonna restart that.
We'll go from just the topic question 2, I guess.
All right, start at
From the question, right?
start at the top. Wait, start at like the top or
Just that question 2.
where the question?
Okay.
The question, right? Yeah.
All right.
For
Next, I want to talk about a team with 2 new quarterbacks who ended up dueling to the last second. 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers made his Steelers debut, as well as 26-year-old Justin Fields having a good game for the New York Jets. These 2 teams essentially swapped QBs and seemed evenly matched. What are your takeaways from the game?
All right, well, I'll start with the elder of the 2. Aaron Rodgers seemed like his own Green Bay self, where, if you forgot, he won 4 MVPs. In his first road start for the Steelers, he went into MetLife Stadium and balled out. He made it a point after the game to say he was glad to beat everyone in the Jets organization, and he did it in Aaron Rodgers fashion. Rodgers passed for 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, and he did this with little help from his offensive line. The Steelers allowed 4 sacks, and the team only had 53 rushing yards. Rodgers proved that he could put a team on his back and lead them to victory. With his experience, Rodgers elevates this team into a playoff caliber squad. DK Metcalf also made his Steelers debut after being traded from the Seahawks, and he himself had 4 catches for 83 yards. The Rodgers-Metcalf connection still has to develop, but when it does, I think there will be some crazy downfield snags from Metcalf like we saw from Pickens. On the other hand, Justin Fields looked like a true dual-threat quarterback. The new QB1 for the Jets completed 72% of his passes and tossed a touchdown to Garrett Wilson, which will see that connection a lot going forward. On the ground, Fields was able to complement Breece Hall. Hall led the team with 107 rushing yards, while Fields was second with 48, but he had 2 crucial rushing touchdowns. These 2 teams came into the season with a lot of question marks, and while some are still unanswered, I think hope was brought out in both of these fandoms.
Absolutely. You know, when I looked at that matchup on paper, I thought this is going to be a boring game, a slugfest, a low-scoring game, and it ended up being a shootout. So that was really fun to watch. And I'm sure you had a great time watching football this weekend, and we had a lot of good games. What was your favorite game from week 1 of the NFL season?
Well, without a doubt, the game of the weekend and potential game of the year was played on Sunday night. The Bills and Ravens had themselves a game, with the Bills coming out on top after 16 straight points to win the game. It was the reigning MVP who helped lead the Bills to victory, Josh Allen. The Bills became the first team in NFL history to come back from a 15-point deficit in the final 4 minutes of a game. Allen passed for 395 total yards with 251 in the fourth quarter. Allen tossed 2 through the air and ran 2 in on the ground, and the Ravens came out to an early lead with help from Derrick Henry, yes, and for the people who claimed he was too old, he proved them wrong. Derrick Henry had 18 carries for 169 yards while rushing for 2 touchdowns. Henry did have a crucial fumble that gave the ball back to the Bills with time to score, but Zay Flowers was the standout player for the Ravens as he caught 7 balls for 143 yards. With the Chiefs' performance seemingly heading downhill, this game has a potential AFC championship level gravity, and the winner of this game could have the number 1 seed. And a lot of the Bills playmakers were poked at all offseason saying that they couldn't make a difference, but they made a difference tonight. James Cook made a big difference after getting his bag after holding in during training camp, and I want to hit on Keon Coleman, who had over 100 receiving yards. 9 different Bills caught passes. The Ravens seemed like they were going to dominate, but the Bills came in clutch in the second half and were able to seal their victory. And I think that Josh Allen really could have back-to-back potential MVP seasons, especially after what we saw on Sunday.
Yeah, he could definitely have back-to-back MVP seasons. He's definitely the MVP of my fantasy team last night, getting me that win. Thanks, Ayan, for the coverage for the NFL. Back to you at the desk, Giorgy.
Thanks, Nolan. And when we return to College Press Box, we'll take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports and see what's ahead. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Let's take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports. The Texas women's golf team will have lots of representation on the international stage as 5 of their players have been selected to represent their countries at the World Amateur Team Championships. The 5 Texas players competing for their country are Farrah O'Keefe representing the USA, Lauren Kim representing Canada, Cindy Xu and Selena Liao representing Taiwan, and Vivian Liu representing New Zealand. The event will take place from October 1st through the 4th in Singapore.
The Texas men's basketball enters the season ranked number 2 in the preseason poll, and the outlook is promising with new head coach Sean Miller at the helm. And I was able to get an exclusive look behind the scenes of practice, and I can say the team's defense is shaping up to be one of its biggest strengths. And with some of the top recruits in the country, the Longhorns are gearing up for a strong year.
Back to the golf course, the number 1 ranked Texas men's golf team began their 25-26 golf season at the Sahali Players Championship in Sammamish, Washington, where the Longhorns finished in solo second, 1 shot behind winners Arizona State. Sophomore Daniel Bennett impressed again, leading the team at 2 under for the tournament, which placed him in a tie for second overall. Texas returns to action next week at the Jackson T. Stevens Cup.
Now let's take a look at this week in Longhorn sports. Volleyball takes on Louisville at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Women's soccer takes on Missouri on 7 p.m. on Friday. And football hosts UT El Paso at home on SEC Network. And on Sunday, volleyball hosts Arizona State. Tune in to these week's sports.
And that will conclude the first edition of College Press Box for the 25-26 school year. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, please make sure to tune in to our other sports shows this week, including College Crossfires, Wednesdays airing at 9 p.m., and the 1-0 Sports Show on Fridays at 11 a.m. Also, we invite you to follow our coverage on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube at the handle TSTV Sports. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer Kendall Unger, and all of our reporters in TSTV Sports. I'm Nolan Clay. She's Giorgy Ruiz. Thank you for watching, and have a great night.